Welcome to The Explainer. Look, today we're literally lifting the curtain on the modern financial game. You know that feeling, right? Like there's a secret manual for money that everyone else got, but somehow you just missed out on? Well, we are decoding those hidden rules right now. We're going to take all that confusing, intimidating financial jargon and break it down into clear, completely understandable concepts. Get ready, because we are finally seeing the Matrix for what it really is.
Okay, let's start with a feeling I think we basically all know way too well. Why does it feel like your money just disappears? Picture this. You just spent a brutal month working your tail off. Maybe you're flipping burgers, or maybe you're staring at a glowing screen for 8 hours a day. You get that digital bank notification, you've been paid, and it feels absolutely amazing. But then, you actually look at the account balance, and that familiar knot forms in your stomach. You worked so incredibly hard, yet you still feel financially squeezed. It's frustrating, and honestly, it's entirely valid to feel that way.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think of this as your ultimate survival cheat code for navigating the economy. We're going to hit the hidden cost of living, the illusion of banking, the double-edged sword, the invisible wealth thief, and finally, the ultimate wealth formula. Let's get right into it. Part 1, the hidden cost of living. It's time to look at the tax trap.
All right, so this is where the mystery of the disappearing money gets solved. Let's say you earned a cool $2,000. Awesome. But suddenly your take-home pay is only $1,456. Wait, where'd the rest go? Well, it gets carved up by these invisible forces: federal income tax, state tax, Social Security, and Medicare. Society just kind of expects you to hand over a massive chunk of your hard-earned cash, smile, and say thank you. Why? Well, to be fair, you're paying for the roads you drive on, public schools, ensuring your favorite food truck is actually safe to eat at, and, those billion-dollar missiles.
So here's the unfiltered truth. Taxes are essentially the subscription fee for living in a civilized society, and they take a bite out of nearly every single dollar that moves. There are 3 main bites you got to remember. First, income tax. That's the cut taken directly from the money you make. Second, sales tax, the extra fee tacked on to literally everything you buy. And third, capital gains tax, which is the slice the government takes from the profits your investments make while you're fast asleep.
Which brings us to Section 2, the illusion of banking. Let's talk about financial matchmakers.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens next. After all those taxes, where do you keep what's left? You probably picture a bank as this giant, laser-guarded vault, right? Well, here's what actually happens. Step 1. You walk in, deposit $1,000. You see your digital balance update, and you feel totally secure. But Step 2 reveals the secret. The bank only keeps a tiny, tiny fraction of your cash on hand. Because in Step 3, they immediately lend out the other $900 to someone else who wants to buy, say, a car or maybe a jet ski. No joke, your money is already gone. Banks aren't giant safes, they're really just financial matchmakers.
This whole setup actually has a name: fractional reserve banking. Think of it like this. You are the supply, and the borrowers buying those jet skis are the demand. The bank just sits right there in the middle. They pay you a microscopic fraction of a percent to hold your money, but they charge those borrowers a much, much higher interest rate. The bank simply pockets the difference. That is literally how the whole system breathes.
But here is the catch. This financial matrix works perfectly, flawlessly even, right up until panic strikes. Because banks only hold a fraction of the cash, what happens if everyone shows up on the exact same day asking for their money back? Well, that is exactly what triggered the historic financial crash of 2008. When collective trust evaporates and everyone wants their cash simultaneously, the entire system crumbles. It really shows just how fragile this whole setup actually is.
All right, moving on to Section 3, the double-edged sword. So, the engine behind all that money multiplication? It's interest. Think of interest simply as money charging rent just to exist in someone else's hands. When you borrow, interest is the painful price tag for using cash you don't own. But when you save or invest, interest completely flips. It becomes your ultimate reward for being patient. This means there are basically 2 paths your financial life can take. First is compound debt, what we call the cage. If you miss a payment on a high-interest credit card, your interest starts earning its own interest. Suddenly, those dollars are creating clones of themselves, and those clones start demanding rent. That is exactly how a delicious $12 burrito turns into a $50 financial regret. But then, there's compound wealth, the cheat code. If you invest early, your money duplicates itself like you've unlocked some secret level in a video game. $100 becomes $200, then $400, then $800. It's that absolute euphoria of waking up wealthier just because time passed.
Section 4, the invisible wealth thief. We're talking about inflation.
Have you ever bought a bag of potato chips, realize it's mostly air, and notice it costs like 30% more than last year? Yep, that is inflation. It isn't some sudden explosion. It's a slow, quiet erosion of your purchasing power over time. Look at year 1. Your $10 bill buys 100% of the goods you need. But fast forward to year 5, and that exact same piece of paper with $10 written on it only buys 70% of those same goods. Your money is simply buying less food, less gas, and less rent.
So, the crucial point is understanding why this happens. Imagine a store has a TV that normally costs $500, but suddenly 2,000 people all walk into the store wanting to buy that exact same TV. There's way too much cash chasing way too few goods. So what does the store do? They jack the price up to $800 simply because they can. The same thing happens when global supply chains break down, making it more expensive to just manufacture things in the first place.
Now, a tiny bit of inflation, around 2% a year, is considered totally normal. But when it spikes out of control, your savings essentially start to rot away. So what's the government's response? They raise interest rates. By making borrowing incredibly expensive, they intentionally cool down the entire economy. They want to make it so painful to borrow money that people literally just stop spending.
Finally, Section 5, the ultimate wealth formula. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we bring it all together. We've talked about taxes, the illusion of banks, the double-edged sword of interest, and the invisible thief of inflation. So, how do you actually win a game where the rules feel totally rigged against you? Well, you have to reframe how you think about your wallet. Rule number 1, money isn't actually a physical, real thing, it's a social construct. A piece of paper only has value because we all collectively trust and agree it does. Therefore, rule number 2, to earn massive capital, you have to create high value. Think about revolutionary creators or top-tier specialists like surgeons. Society rewards them with massive capital because they solve massive problems. But look at rule 3. The ultimate asset you possess isn't capital at all. It's time.
See, most people trade their limited, precious hours directly for a paycheck. But true wealth is defined differently. It is training your money to work for you while you literally sleep. It's not about getting rich in a few days. It's about compounding small investments consistently over decades. You're shifting from trading hours for dollars to letting time build legendary freedom for you.
It really boils down to this stark duality in our financial system. Interest is either your worst financial enemy or your hardest working employee. You get to choose who collects it. The tools themselves are completely neutral. It is entirely up to you whether you let compounding debt trap you or compounding investments liberate you. You have the absolute power to take control of your financial destiny. Which leaves us with one final, deeply important question. Will you let inflation, hidden taxes, and consumer debt, all these invisible forces, steal your future? Or will you understand the rules of the matrix, put your money to work today, and let time do the rest? The choice is entirely yours. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you next time.